Right off the bat, this video kicks down the door of conventional science content. Get ready to learn biology with a shot of sarcasm and a mild cerebral meltdown. No robotic voiceovers or sleepy textbook vibes here. Just straight talk, dripping in irony, and peppered with the kind of absurdity that makes you question your life choices. Think of it as a science class hosted by a burned-out professor who had enough of PowerPoint and decided memes and mockery were better teaching tools. This isn't your average educational video. It's a biological roast with a punchline. And of course, like every honest video, we gotta pay the bills. Enter our sponsor, Brilliant, the platform that actually helps you understand math and physics, unlike Cricket, which no one understands, and frankly, no one cares to. Cricket is the sports equivalent of reading tax codes in Latin. Brilliant, though? It's like that friend who teaches you conditional probability using beer and pizza. So if you've ever pretended to know derivatives just to impress someone on a date, maybe it's time to actually learn and have fun doing it. Now that the tone is set and sarcasm is in full swing, let's dive into the fuzzy, weirdly sophisticated world of tarantulas. Strap in, because this journey starts where life begins. The eggs. But not just any eggs, we're talking miniature monster factories. Let's go. Imagine a microscopic reality show where the contestants are tarantula embryos racing to develop the fastest. These tiny critters grow inside silk-wrapped egg sacs, going through bizarre yet brilliant stages of development. As they evolve, their bodies start to segment in a way that looks uncannily like a centipede. It's like nature is testing out design prototypes before settling on the final blueprint. This segmentation is crucial. It sets the stage for building legs and other vital gear. As these embryos grow, it's like watching them assemble a 3D puzzle of themselves. Each segment forms with eerie precision, ensuring that once they hatch, they're ready to tackle the world head-on. It's this meticulous internal construction that makes them fully equipped predators right out of the gate. And don't let the size fool you. Even in the egg, they're already prepping to be tiny tanks with fangs. And speaking of hatching, next up is the egg with legs stage. Yeah, you heard that right. Before they become nightmare fuel on 8 legs, they look like walking eggshells with limbs. But that's just the beginning, because growing inside a rigid shell has its own horrifying workaround. Welcome to the eggs with legs phase, where freshly hatched tarantulas look like bizarre little Easter eggs that decided to grow feet. They're tiny, awkward, and already armored up. But here's the catch. That exoskeleton? It doesn't grow. So what do? They bust out of their own skin, repeatedly. It's called molting, or, more dramatically, a full-blown, hairy exorcism. Molting is a body horror masterpiece. The spider writhes, pushes, and finally splits its old exoskeleton open like a demonic piñata. A bigger, shinier version crawls out, soft and vulnerable for a few hours before it hardens again. And this is a one-time gig. They'll do this over and over as they grow. Picture it as upgrading armor while trying not to get eaten mid-process. And as they level up with each molt, they become even more biologically badass. So let us zoom in and check out what makes a tarantula tick. Because their anatomy is like a horror movie designed by an engineer. Tarantulas are 8-legged engineering marvels. Their exoskeleton acts as both armor and skeleton, tough enough to survive falls and predator attacks. Their legs are lined with tiny sensory hairs. Think of them as ultra-sensitive motion detectors. Their fangs, or chelicerae, are multi-tools of death, injecting venom and holding prey in a steel grip. This isn't just creepy crawly biology, it's battlefield design. Inside, tarantulas have an open circulatory system. Blood, hemolymph, flows freely through their body, pumped by a long tube-like heart. They use hydraulic pressure to extend their legs. Yep, they literally walk by pumping blood into their limbs. And don't even get me started on how they scale walls. Dry adhesion on the foot pads lets them stick to glass like Spider-Man on caffeine. But there's one anatomical mystery that still bugs scientists. Do tarantulas actually spin silk from their feet? Some studies say yes, others, not so much. Let's get into that scientific squabble. Here's the juicy debate. Can tarantulas spin silk from their feet? Some researchers swear they've seen it. Silk strands trailing from tarantulas climbing smooth surfaces. They claim these spiders have silk glands in their legs, turning them into 8-legged spider-men. Pretty wild, right? But hold your web shooters. Other scientists argue it's not silk at all. They say it's just sticky chemical secretions, not actual webbing. The community's split, and experiments have brought conflicting results. It's a nerd fight for the ages, and nobody's backing down. One thing's for sure, whether it's silk or stickiness, tarantulas can cling to walls like ninjas. While the lab coats argue over leg silk, tarantulas keep doing what they do best, hunting. And their feeding process? Oh, it's delightfully disgusting. Tarantulas don't just hunt, they ambush, wrap, and liquefy. First, they pounce. Then, they wrap the victim in silk, rendering it totally useless. Once that's done, they inject venom that not only paralyzes but starts digesting the prey from the inside out. Charming, right? They don't chew their food, they slurp it. Tarantulas can only consume liquids, so they turn their victims into spider smoothies. One particularly twisted example, a cricket getting eaten alive by a tarantula, while trying to eat another bug at the same time. That's multitasking in the food chain's darkest corner, and while they're sucking down superfied insects, they've also got to stay alive. Because not everything in nature thinks tarantulas are scary. Some things think they're dinner. Let's talk defense. When threatened, tarantulas don't just run. They fight back with an itchy vengeance. One of their signature moves? Flicking urticating hairs from their abdomen like tiny biological darts. These hairs can irritate skin, eyes, even lungs. Imagine being pepper sprayed by a furry hand grenade. Some tarantulas also create defensive sounds by rubbing their legs together, a process called stridulation. It's like their way of shouting, "Back off," without using a single word. This audible warning often gives predators second thoughts, because no one wants to mess with a spider that hisses at you. But even with all this flair, there's one predator that doesn't flinch: the tarantula hawk wasp. This insect isn't just fearless, it's a living nightmare for tarantulas. Let's dive into that horror story next. Topic 8. Tarantula predators. Enter the tarantula hawk wasp, a flying death machine with one mission: paralyze and exploit. It tracks down a tarantula, wrestles it in a brutal showdown, then stings it with a venom that leaves the spider alive, but completely immobilized. It's the biological equivalent of being body snatched. Then comes the creepy part. The wasp drags the still-living tarantula into a burrow and lays an egg on its abdomen. When the larva hatches, it slowly eats the spider, carefully avoiding vital organs so it stays alive as long as possible. It's like a horror movie directed by nature. Despite this nightmare, tarantulas survive and thrive. Their secret? Reproduction that ensures the next generation of 8-legged nightmares continues. And yes, that includes spider sex. Let's go there. Tarantula mating is risky business, especially for the male. He starts by crafting a special sperm web, onto which he deposits his genetic material. Then, using his pedipalps, modified leg-like appendages, he loads up and goes on the hunt for a female. And this is where things get dicey. If he finds a willing female, he performs an elaborate mating dance, waving and tapping like he's trying to unlock a safe with bad rhythm. He uses tibial hooks to keep her fangs at bay while he transfers the sperm. Because one wrong move, she'll turn him from suitor to supper, and many males daunt to survive the encounter. But if all goes well, or at least partially well, the female stores the sperm in a structure called a spermatheca. And that's just the start of the egg-making magic. Next comes the silk sacks, babysitting frogs, and one seriously weird nursery. With sperm stored and conditions right, the female tarantula begins her egg-laying ritual. She builds a thick, protective silk sac and lays hundreds of eggs inside. This isn't just a cozy incubator, it's a fortress. And she guards it with the fury of a caffeinated bodyguard. Some tarantulas even have unexpected roommates, tiny frogs. These amphibians hang around the egg sacs, eating ants and other threats in exchange for safety. It's like hiring a babysitter that also doubles as pest control. Nature's weird but effective. Inside these sacs, baby tarantulas develop, ready to enter the world already equipped for drama. And that S where we wrap things up, with one final punchline about cricket snacks and parental weirdness. If you thought your childhood was weird, try being born in a silk sac surrounded by hundreds of siblings, guarded by a spider mom and a pet frog. Tarantula parenting is chaos with a purpose. But hey, at least they don't have student loans. And that cricket. In the middle of being digested, it was still trying to eat something. That's dedication or denial. Either way, it's the kind of don't give a damn attitude that deserves a round of applause or a therapy session. If you made it this far, congrats. You just survived a full-on biology lesson with jokes, horror, and insect babysitters. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and ring that notification bell. Oh, and click on the next video. I promise it's just as brain-melting and brilliant.